Hello, I'm Brian Fox. Welcome back to I Hate Rock Music. And as promised, after my series of rural rock records, I'm going back into some more heavy stuff that I love the best. And I know a lot of people have probably heard of this band. Those of you who haven't heard them before, you're in for a treat. They're definitely a great band. Yesterday's Children. They came out of Connecticut in 1966 and it originally started as a garage band called the Firebirds, and then by the time 1970s rolled around, they became Yesterday's Children, and a really cool album cover. I never really saw the album in cutouts or in the racks back in the 70s, and I didn't really run across the record until the early 80s. And boy, what a find when I finally found it. They did an amazing job turning from a garage band into a pretty raucous, uh, high energy, sometimes heavy rock band. So let's get into the band. Dennis Croce on vocals, Richard Croce on guitar and vocals, Reggie Wright on lead guitar, Ralph Muscatelli on bass, and Chuck Marr on drums. And another one of those great two guitar bands that I love so much. And this record is a great example. Some just excellent twin guitar work. They really play off each other really nicely, and have two distinct tones, so that makes it easier to hone in on what they do. And so they put out two 45s, To Be or Not to Be being one of those most notable on Parrot Records in January '67. So a couple years before the album came out, they had this Parrot Records single, and then they had a number of singles as a garage band, uh, also known as Yesterday's Children, and I'll attach those below as well. But definitely a good solid garage band. But they really turned it on when they became Yesterday's Children, and by the time 1970 rolled around. So the album came out on Map City Records in August of 1970, and took them about 9 months to record. So kind of unusual. A lot of these records I talk about, they were recorded pretty quickly, but they actually spent a lot of time on this, and it shows. It's a very well constructed album with a lot of cool arrangements, but they didn't really tour per se, and there was no promotion really, and they sold fewer than 1,000 copies, so it really bombed terribly. I'm sure the Map City label really didn't get much distribution at all, and I'm not really aware of any other records on Map City. I should have looked it up, but I'll look it up afterwards. I just won't have it for this video. But one of the funny things is it was recorded in Manhattan at Burt Bacharach's studio, so um, at least it was a high level studio. I'm sure Burt Bacharach didn't check these guys out. But I got to give it up to them totally. The vocalist is great, very histrionic, and he really delivers the goods. And that's one of the things that distinguishes a lot of these second and third tier bands, is they just don't have as good as vocalists, distinctive and powerful singers as a lot of the first tier bands. Since that really makes a difference, and it certainly makes a difference on this record. The singers, excellent, and as I mentioned, they're just big, huge, fat riffs, great twin guitar work, very capable rhythm section, and really great arrangements with great breaks and great bridges. And so when you get into the album, it's got Paranoia, Sad Born Loser, What If I, She's Easy, Sailing, Providence Bummer, Evil Woman, and Hunter's Moon. And of course, a lot of bands, including Black Sabbath and Crow, and many others. I think the Trogs even did it, that song Evil Woman, and they do a particularly heavy version of it. And so I was really gratified that they managed to pull off a great version of that when so many bands have done it. But it starts off with kind of a mix of garage and heaviness, and both Paranoia and Sad Born Loser are pretty garagey but pretty heavy. And then What If I is more of a medium tempo, and then Out of the Blue some great harmonies. But boy, by the time you get to the middle of the record, She's Easy just has massive riffs, really high vocals, and then great arrangement. It slows down quite a bit and then gets faster again, and just has a killer leads towards the end of it. And then they have a somewhat of a ballad with Sailing, but it ends up getting crazed and super heavy. And Providence Bummer and Hunter's Moon are both really great and excellent and heavy. So I recommend this record 100%. It's a real gem as far as obscure bands, and as I mentioned, a lot of collectors are well aware of this record now. And I'll put some of the early material, garage band material, down below, and then, as always, a link to the album down below. And as I always say, if you've heard this record and you know about the band, you are already in the club. But for those of you who haven't heard it, that like that garagey, early heavy bands, this one's a real stunner. And so I recommend it 110%. There's nothing bad on it, and almost all of it is totally killer, and it checks all the boxes. So check them out. Yesterday's Children.